What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. So today I'm going to be changing out my D16y8 Vtec Solenoid gasket as well as a Distributor O-Ring. It's pretty common for these cars, or for this engine to have oil leaks around this area after a certain amount of mileage. So it's a super simple task. There's many people on YouTube and stuff that's done how-tos on how to do it, but never hurts just adding an extra one. So here we go. So some pretty common places for this to start leaking at. We'll usually see on top of the transmission. As well as sometimes the oil can creep around from the distributor all the way towards like the headers and stuff like that. Actually, and that's where I kind of noticed it getting even worse, because I was at a stoplight coming home from work one day and I noticed smoke coming out from underneath my hood, and it was just oil burning off from the heat shield here of the header. So there's some common places, mostly for these engines. Common places for oil leaks, you'll usually see, obviously, the valve cover is one thing that's pretty easy stuff to spot, as well as the O-ring and the distributor, as I'm pointing out here. And for the Vtec solenoid, if your car is Vtec, it tends to leak and it'll seep down in the bottom and get all over the transmission, as you can see. And even just by eyeballing it underneath, I set last night, you can see it right there. So there's like nothing around like the oil pan gasket, or sorry, the oil pan itself. I haven't found anything there. All right, another good idea is that mostly commonly you'll see oil leaks would be like the rear main seals. If you're ever changing out the clutch, that'd be a real good time to change out the rear main seal. Or if you're doing a timing belt, you can do the front main seal as well. So usually definitely for the rear and front main seals would be a good idea, especially if you're going to be like taking the engine out and doing a rebuild or doing a swap. Be a good time to do it. So the way I'm going to approach this is like this. So you guys don't have to turn the engine to top dead center if you don't want to. Just make sure before you remove the distributor that you have some sort of marking to where you know where to line it up at. You guys can use a pencil or Sharpie or whatever, but the last owner decided to just scratch it. Pretty barbaric way of doing it, but at least it's marked. The distributor is held on by 3 12mm bolts. So obviously take those off to remove the distributor, replace the O-ring on that. And then for the Vtec solenoid, there's going to be 3 10mm bolts up top here. And then it's actually, the whole unit's mounted to the head by another 3 10mm bolts. Now, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to just loosen the top 3 up top and then proceed to remove the whole solenoid off. I'll show you why, because the Vtec solenoid actually has 2 gaskets you're going to have to replace on that. And then just make sure to unplug all the wiring that's needed to go into the solenoid as well. And yeah, I'll probably fast forward this part for time's sake. Success. Got it off. So before I clean it up, guys, just so you can see, you can definitely see where it's leaking from and where the pile up is. Right down there. Alright guys, so here it is. Just took it off. I didn't clean it up yet. It's a good idea. As you guys can tell, it's all caked up in oil from however long it's been. So this gasket needs to be removed, and then this is it right here. It's going to be replaced with the only one that has a screen in the center of it. You guys can actually see if I can focus. Yeah, so basically if you guys have a pick or like a screwdriver or whatever, you can just like pry that out. No problem. Just make sure not to try to damage any of the housing that it's molded to. And then this gasket right here is going to go on top right here, but I already loosened these 3 bolts. So I told you it'd be a lot easier to break these loose once this is still mounted to the engine. So I'm just going to take this off now. And then same thing, use a pick or a screwdriver. Just be careful not to damage the actual the Vtec solenoid itself. Pop it out, pop it back in, and you're good to go. That was tripping me out for a second. It's like, why is that piece of metal moving? Okay, here we are. I'm gonna clean it up a bit. So you get the inside right here. So if you're watching this and you already took the solenoid off and you didn't use these, or sorry, loosen these yet, an easy way is you just get, if you have a torque gun, you should be able just to hold it on, because these things aren't torqued down too crazy. You just use it by hand and just hold it and just press it open. I think the gasket was still pretty good there. It wasn't leaking up on top, but still, if you're gonna replace this gasket, you might as well just do that. There's no point, in my opinion, just to replace one gasket. But yeah, it shows like some. If you guys can see it on camera, if it focuses, all that debris right there. You don't want none of that. Remember, boys and girls, cut away from you. Here's what the new gasket should look like. Focuses. Cool. I'm showing you guys on here super close up detail on what it needs to look like. So this is pretty common sense, I hope, but just let you guys know, just in case I get flack for not letting you guys know specifically. Okay, this part goes in like that with the screen downward, not like this. Okay. I'm gonna coat this with oil real quick. Oh, that was a little too much, but you don't need anything too crazy. Okay, just make sure everything is in. And that's that. And for the top one, for this part right here now. Not hard at all, just put a little bit of downward pressure right here. Bam, done. Oh, nope, went back. Doesn't want to leave. Come on. Yeah, this was done too, actually, or at least was about to. Just remember, make sure there's no debris. You want a good seal. Okay, so I'll put the parts numbers in the description, but here you go. So, cut away from you. Learned that the hard way many times. More times than I wish I did. But I remember now. Okay, same thing with this. Just pull it up. Pull it up for a good seal. Nothing too crazy. Even though I went crazy on that one too. Okay, so self-explanatory, I hope. Just press it in. Nothing too crazy, just make sure it's not like all pinched up or sticking outward in any areas. And that's that. Okay, so yeah, obviously you see what this is for the Vtec pressure switch. So maybe I'm going full retard right now. Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. Do not line this up with that. I just went full retard. Never go full retard. Okay, just make sure that's good again. And this is good to go back on the car. Alright guys, the Vtec Solenoid is back on. Definitely a lot easier putting it back on than taking it off, that's for sure. Just basically just dealing with all the oil buildup and stuff was pretty much the hardest thing. Just make sure for all 6 bolts on top and on the side, you want to torque those down around 9 foot-pounds, so be sure not to over tighten those or else you're going to be having a bad day. So now we're going to be moving on to the distributor, and I'm going to have it recording and probably fast forward again. It's not going to be too hard to remove a distributor. Okay, so I got the distributor out. As you can see, if it's going to be leaking from the distributor area, Notice how everything right now is leaking towards here. That'll give you an idea that more than likely it's going to be the O-ring from your distributors. It's a pretty common problem after a couple, actually more than a couple miles, but there's definitely things to look out for if you see the signs of it. So I'm going to clean this out. Sorry, get this camera to focus. Sorry, hang on real quick. Okay. Sorry guys. This bottom black part, that's the gasket. So like you can kind of tell how really flush it is. This thing should be poking out just a little bit, just like very slightly, to pretty much create a seal so oil doesn't get past it. But after a lot of mileage, that thing tends to wear down, as you can see, and doesn't create a proper seal, which then creates this problem. So I'm gonna go take that out and place it, throw everything back in, we should be golden. The O-ring is on, as you guys can tell. You notice how now it slightly bulges out. So pretty much that's what it kind of should look like from factory, just to prevent any seals, or sorry, any leaks. So now would be a good time for you to throw it back on, just like clean up the area best you can, just so in case if that does fail or something went wrong and we're still leaking and you didn't solve the source of it, which more than likely you have, then you'll have a clean slate to know. So yeah, when you put this back on, just make sure that the cam key, let's see if we can get this, matches up there inside. See where the grooves are in there. Hopefully the camera picks it up. Yeah, so basically you shouldn't be forcing this. It shouldn't be difficult to put this back in the head. Just make sure this is aligned. It will definitely, you will feel a little bit more resistance due to the fact of the new O-ring. So, but it should just be, it shouldn't be too hard. Okay, so I got it on. So it was way harder than it should have been. All I'm gonna say is when you guys do the O-ring for the distributor for your D16, get the OEM Honda O-ring. I'm just gonna leave it at that. All right, everything's back on. I just checked for leaks. Everything looks good. Make sure to clean up your transmission if it was kicked before, and also like underneath the car, specific areas where it was leaking prior. Vtec Solenoid's good. No leaks underneath there. So this should fix your common oil leak problem for the D16s, especially for the Y7, Y8s. If that doesn't fix it, check your oil pan, check your valve cover. Those would be like the next easiest steps. The next hardest step would probably be like your PCV box and your front and rear seals. Yeah, other than that, that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.